of the Americans. I'm a Michigander, a sociologist, and a teacher. I'm also a chronically ill, disabled cancer survivor. I rely on medications, medical devices, health insurance, and workplace accommodation to thrive in my life. And I do thrive. But like many chronically ill and disabled Americans right now, I am afraid, and I am angry. This fear and anger aren't new for me as a disabled American living in a world where I'm forced to rely on societal structures and the whims of politicians and various corporate entities to survive and thrive. But it has reached an intensity I haven't known before. We are witnessing a direct and sustained attack on disability rights and disabled Americans from all levels of government. The only thing that is clear right now is that every American family will feel the negative effects of this attack in some way. I don't have time to list all of the administrative actions behind this, so I'll just focus on a couple examples. Imagine you are a disabled college student who relies on caregivers to really tough, such as washing, dressing, using the bathroom, and transportation. With these supports, you can fully access your university courses and excel in obtaining your degree. Or imagine me in the future needing caregiver support in my daily life to allow me to continue my career. Such services and caregiver support hours often depend on state and federal programs like Medicaid, SSI, and federal grants to organizations through the Federal Administration for Community Living. All of these have been cut and will be cut. Without these services and supports, disabled Americans lose their jobs, their ability to access education, and may face bankruptcy and even loss of freedom to participate in public life. Many disabled Americans fear widespread reinstitutionalization as these supports disappear. Caregivers of children with disabilities and children providing care for elderly parents already fear having to get a second or third job to privately afford support, or the loss of jobs and bankruptcy when support becomes inaccessible. And this is in the face of a shortage of qualified care providers. The fight for the fundamental right for disabled Americans to live in and contribute to our communities was in the past. We shouldn't be fighting for it again. Right. And I haven't even mentioned the loss of health care access for tens of millions of Americans due to the cuts to Medicaid, Social Security, the VA, and the Department of Health and Human Services. The human catastrophe that will come from them. Our most vulnerable will be without health care. I vividly remember when we had contract negotiations at work and lost access to more comprehensive health insurance. My first thought was, I'm glad I had cancer last year. Now, magnify that feeling to the terror of millions of Americans at the prospect of losing health insurance in these days of rising costs of living. Yes, I also haven't mentioned the fact that accessibility is a direct target of anti-DEI measures. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give the last few speakers the respect of our attention. They made it here. They prepared this for you. We want to march with you. Thank you. We have two more speakers after this, so please. Beyond the attacks of the federal level, we also need to be cognizant the states are making moves too. There's no guarantee that the state will protect us. For example, 17 states, not Michigan so far, have joined a lawsuit against the Rehabilitation Act of 1973, also called the 504 Act. The Act provides entities that receive federal funding from discriminating against people with disabilities. The legal foundation of the suit is the argument that the 504 is unconstitutional. If the 504 Act is found to be unconstitutional, all civil rights laws can be challenged. Even if the suit is unsuccessful, the attack it represents will continue in the name of states' rights. I recently heard the phrase that greed steals from need. So many ways of isolating greed in the system have been proposed, but focus remains on cutting from need. And yet this overall attack is being framed in terms of wellness, efficiency, and the removal of fraud and waste. To frame these actions as wellness is simply perverse. Efficiency has never been a metric concerned with quality of life or even survival. I can't believe I have to say this, but human lives are not fraud and waste. Ultimately, the chainsaw may be symbolic, but the wounds it inflicts will be all too real.
That's right.
But there are many community organizations around disability that we can join with in our endeavors. Detroit Disability Power and Lost It All, Disability Network Lost It All, Disability Rights Michigan, the ARC, SOS, various community networks in Ypsi and Ann Arbor, and they're all on social media for us to find and connect. But in conclusion, I would like to say that we do not need, that as much as we need organizations, institutions, and politicians to help us in this fight, we cannot wait for them to act. I know there is fear and risk of speaking out and protesting. I feel it. But our biggest protector and our power lies in strength in numbers. Yeah, as we see today. Wow. The best democracy comes from below. Studying the history of disability rights taught me that we cannot wait for a hero to come to our rescue, that we are our own heroes, and we already know how to fight. So let's fight. Yes. That's right.